Hello and welcome back to Will's World Reviews and More. Today we're going to do the second episode of my Superstar series, where I kind of take a superstar, talk about what that superstar means to me, and why I like them. Sometimes why I don't like them, that'll come more. Obviously I'm working my way through my top 5 at the moment, so these are all obviously guys that I really like. And today we're doing the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania. Of course, we are talking about Shawn Michaels. Now, this is quite an interesting one for me because my opinion of Shawn Michaels has changed slightly in the last month, 2 months or so, and we'll get into that. But we'll start. He's always going to be, and I think he always has been, one of my favourite wrestlers, and for a long time he was my favourite. But I'll get into the reason why that's changed. But first, let's start off into the reasons why I do like him and how I got into him and what he means to me. I remember being about, so I got into wrestling when I was about 10. I remember maybe being about 11, 12, something like that. And obviously this was a time where Triple H was on his own solo kind of run. DX had ended, Shawn Michaels had retired long before I got into wrestling, because it was about the year 2000 when I got into it. And I remember I went to a shop where I ended up working later on, oddly enough, and picking up a DX keyring, which I still have somewhere in there. And I was intrigued as to what, cause I knew it was wrestling related because I'd always seen the signs and what have you, and occasionally clips on Raw or SmackDown or whatever. And that's when I got into Shawn Michaels, because I read about, well, I don't know how, because I didn't have the internet at the time, so I'd heard about Shawn Michaels somehow, and it just kind of grew really. And then obviously when he then did come back, first as part of the NWO and then in that storyline with Triple H, I was a massive Shawn Michaels fan, just because obviously Triple H was a heel at the time and I'd already been involved with him, and just as we grew then to get him back into his full out of retirement, and sadly then I stopped watching just about as he started having these classic matches, and I'm looking forward to catching up on those. And but there was always something about him that I really liked. I really could identify with him, and like I said, I'm not sure how I learned about him, but I ended up doing, and I really liked him. And just thought it was entertaining, basically. Just I think it was that, the whole thing when he was introduced as part of the NWO, that cocky walk. There's something about him that just me, as quite an arrogant and cocky person anyway, could relate to straight away. So I always kind of had that affection for him. So then moving on years later, as I kind of dip in and out of wrestling, I discovered that he became a born again Christian, which so did I a couple of years ago. So that kind of tied in with my affection for him. And then as I got into wrestling more and more, I bought a figure of his. This we're talking about in the last year or so. And then I bought his first book, read that, and it was all going fairly smoothly until at the point I discovered that he was quite a keen hunter. Now, I've got no problem with people in general hunting. It's their choice, their wishes. I personally am against it. I don't like it, and that's just the way it is. So when I found out that he was such a keen hunter, and obviously looking at some of the pictures online, it did change my opinion of him. I know it's got nothing to do with his wrestling career, and as a wrestler and as an entertainer, he is by far the top. I am not going to take that away. And the same can be said with Stone Cold in terms of some of the stuff in his personal life, which people come at odds with. As wrestlers, they will always be in the top. But there's just sometimes, like with the hunting thing with Shawn Michaels, it did kind of just put me off a little bit. Because it's just something that I don't get. Me, I don't agree with it. I don't understand it. It's not something I get. So I guess that just kind of disconnected me from Shawn a little bit. But like I said, as a wrestler, he really is just the he is what he is, and deserves every praise he gets. So, I think I've got him at number 3 at the moment in my list. I've got Stone Cold, CM Punk, and Shawn Michaels. And I think, I've been hesitant to buy his new books. I know he released his new book, but I might do, because that is more talk about his faith, which obviously is something I'm interested in. So I think it will become a part of my collection eventually. And if I do ever get a chance to get a decent Shawn figure, because I've got a Jax figure, I will pick up on Elite Shawn, definitely. But you know, like, get on to the things that I just like about him. Then massively so is just that he, you know, is so technically gifted. You know, he's one of those guys that wanted to be a wrestler from a very, very early age. Wasn't someone who thought about it as an afterthought. He wanted to be a wrestler, and a wrestler he was. Um, you know, he was such a great seller. He made everyone look good. He did have his problems with authority, and he was disgruntled. And yeah, he may have made the most of his power or pull, but you know, so what? That's if you've got the opportunity to do so, then why not? You know. And he was just so funny. It's so entertaining to watch his segments, especially DX in particular. And he's just so, he got that charisma. You know, you can't really take that away from somebody. And you know, just his matches will pay due to that, of just how great a wrestler he is and how entertaining he is. I remember watching a video the other day, someone talking about Shawn Michaels, and he really has that great balance of being a great wrestler and also cutting promos, and humour as well, and just generally a nice guy. So, you know, hunting aside, I have no problem with Shawn. He is just a great guy, you know, and you can tell that. And I'm so glad that I've got a chance to read the Bret Hart book now, and you know, their relationship's kind of on the mend, as it were, and you know, rightfully so, because they're two great wrestlers, and that all adds into the Shawn persona. And I'll talk more about Bret once I finish his book and do a video like this. But to me, I think Shawn Michaels will always be one of my favourite wrestlers, just because I've discussed of the history I have with him being an influence on me, and I think, you know, he will be recognised as one of the all-time greats just because of all the things I've discussed, really. And moving forward, I'd like to see more of him on WWE programming, and if I do so, less so promoting his hunting things as he has been doing recently. But again, that's entirely up to him, really, isn't it? So, but you know, hopefully he'll kind of make some more appearances soon. He has obviously retired now, but you never know. We'll see what happens. But can you imagine a Seth Rollins, Shawn Michaels match? That would be something entertaining, I can tell you that now. But yeah, so, you know, overall, you've just got to admire the guy for everything he's been through, you know, as well, and having the strength to come through the other side of it, and still being able to be, you know, humble about it and accept the mistakes he's made and kind of move on. And like I say, as a wrestler, he will, you know, should always be remembered in that top echelon. So that's about that, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed my kind of thoughts on Shawn Michaels. Like I say, I'll probably do another one at some point. I'm not sure who's next. Maybe Stone Cold. We'll see. But thanks for watching. Keep liking, subscribing, and commenting, and I will see you all very soon. Peace.